Hi, my name is Ezekiel, and this is my story. So when I was 14, God was doing something in my heart. God was shaping me. I was going to church. I was getting plugged in ministry, serving in videography, and different types of areas in my life, right? And so I graduated middle school, and I was going to a new school. Now, I didn't even know how I was going to transfer. I didn't know the school I was going to, but I knew God had something great for me, right? And even before I went to the school, I always prayed about that God will use me in this new school, right? I was searching, and even during the summer, I literally did not know. I applied for a few schools, got rejected, and I was really confused. But even in that moment, I really had faith that God was gonna put me in the right place. And even before, I was praying that God will use me to bring revival into my school. And so I literally moved 2 days before school started. And somehow I got into the school, and I got registered, and I literally went on Monday. And immediately in that moment, I knew that was God. Like, there's no way. I literally got into a new apartment, knew everything, new school, and God put me in that position. And I didn't even know where I was gonna go. I just went and I flowed with it. And so I saw the move of God in my life. I started reading the Word. I always bring my Bible into school, read it, especially the Gospel, because at that time I was reading Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, seeing how Jesus ultimately walked, right? So I wanted to be an ambassador of Jesus, a vessel, be exactly how Jesus was in the New Testament. And so I didn't know anyone at the school, new area, so I was low-key by myself. I didn't know how I was going to transition or who I was going to preach with. I just knew, and I just prayed about what was going to happen. So I'm just seeing as these weeks develop and these weeks go by, and I see that God starts putting specific people around me who are to uplift me and help me in this journey. And God places certain people, and ultimately I start having a desire to serve God. But the one thing came in the middle of it, right? And that was fear. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable for the gospel. There was a barrier between me and preaching the gospel. That was fear. So I kept living in that fear. I was still obedient. I kept reading the Word. I wasn't really sinning or anything, but I had that fearfulness. So one day, I was asking God, can you truly take away this? I really want to do your will, but I'm actually scared to preach this kids. And then God spoke to me saying, do not fear man, but fear God. And in that moment, literally, this was after school, I had the Holy Spirit completely fill me and give me that fire. And so the next day I went and preached the gospel. And so I talked to these kids during lunch. It wasn't anything crazy. I didn't stand up or preach loudly. I just went to some kids and say, hey, do you know who Jesus is? Do you know the purpose of life or why you're here? And it was engaging. We talked. I started, getting to know them, like a personal relationship. And ultimately I prayed for them. I honestly think to this day, that was the greatest act of love I felt in my life. I literally felt filled by the Spirit completely. I felt so much joy. I literally felt like I was in heaven. I couldn't stop talking to the people around me about, look, God used me for the first time. God actually used me. Because I was so uncomfortable to the point where when I actually stepped into my uncomfortability and I pushed through fear, I felt like the biggest joy, right? And that's ultimately what God does. You're obedient, God will fill you up. I just want to encourage you, all of you guys, to actually do the will of God. Now, revival is here, and I know this personally, and I know even across the country, God is doing something amazing with the youth, but you actually have to step forward. You can't keep hearing about revival. You have to actually be revival. You have to be a light and inspiration, a light on a hill. Actually step out and do the calling of God, because if not, you're going to stay complacent. You're going to stay comfortable, and that's what the enemy wants. And I truly want to encourage you, and in my own life, you have to let fear not have a hold of you. You have to break through it. God is going to do something amazing, and I know God is going to move tremendously. Truly be revival, be a light in your campuses, and God bless you guys.